The world knows the names: Gaza, Jerusalem, West Bank. But do we truly understand the history behind the conflict? Why does Israel continue to fight for Gaza? Why is Palestine caught in the crossfire? And why, when we look at social media, do we see anger, frustration, and calls for justice, yet no answers from the global community? Every day, the people of Palestine cry for help, but their voices are lost in a world that chooses to look away. In the heart of Gaza and the West Bank, thousands of innocent lives are being destroyed in a brutal conflict that seems to have no end. Children are dying, families are losing their homes, and entire communities are being erased from history. Yet, despite the suffering and the cry for justice, the world remains silent. But why? Why is the world not listening? Why aren't the countries with the power to make a difference taking action? Why does the global community continue to fail the people of Palestine? These are questions we need to ask, because silence is complicity, and every day we remain silent, we are part of the problem. Let's start by asking the hard questions that need to be asked. Why is not Germany, a country with such a deep commitment to human rights, taking a stand for Palestine? Why isn't Spain, a European nation that has always advocated for peace, speaking up against this injustice? Why isn't Pakistan, a country with historical and cultural ties to Palestine, doing more to intervene or help? Why is Saudi Arabia, a powerful player in the Middle East, staying silent? Why is India, a country that once fought for its own independence, not standing with Palestine in their fight for freedom? Why is all of Europe silent on Palestine? Europe, with its long history of advocating for human rights, remains oddly quiet while innocent lives are lost daily. Why is the continent turning a blind eye when its voice could change the course of history? Why is the whole world ignoring Palestine? The world watches as Palestine suffers, but the lack of real action speaks louder than words. Why are powerful nations choosing political interests over the basic human rights of the Palestinian people? This isn't just about politics. This is about human lives, human dignity, and freedom. It's about Palestinians whose homes are being demolished, whose children are losing their lives, and whose voices are being drowned out by a global silence. But here's the big question. Why is the world silent? Why isn't there more action from powerful nations? Why is Palestine being left to suffer while the world moves on? Why did the war start? The war between Israel and Palestine isn't new. It goes back decades. The main issue, control of land. Gaza is one of the most densely populated regions in the world, with a rich historical and cultural significance. But Israel sees this land as part of its so-called security strategy. The Israeli government justifies its actions by claiming that controlling Gaza and other Palestinian territories is necessary for national security. But the people of Palestine, they're caught in a deadly game of survival. The religious significance of the region further complicates matters. Jerusalem, a city sacred to Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, is at the heart of this conflict. Both Israel and Palestine claim it as their capital, but what people often fail to realize is that this isn't just about religion, it's about identity, history, and survival. Why does Israel want Gaza? Israel's desire for Gaza is rooted in both security concerns and strategic interests. The Gaza Strip lies in a geopolitical hotspot. For Israel, having control over Gaza is a matter of preventing militant activity that threatens their borders. However, many argue that Israel's tactics go beyond defensive. They are aimed at controlling resources, including access to water and key agricultural land. Israel's constant military presence in Gaza is justified by their need to defend against rocket attacks from Hamas, but in turn, This escalates violence and leads to the suffering of countless innocent Palestinians who are trapped in a cycle of violence that seems one of the biggest questions that arise is, why isn't the world intervening more effectively? The truth is, many global powers support Israel, and in some cases, they do so covertly through economic, political, and military aid. Countries like the United States, Germany, France, and the UK provide substantial military aid to Israel, supporting the very weapons and systems used in the destruction of Gaza. But it doesn't stop there. Companies like KFC, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's are popular global brands that continue to operate in Israel, contributing to the economy that funds the military's operations. HP and Motorola are other brands whose products are used in the Israeli military, which makes them indirectly involved in the suffering of Gaza. The economic ties that exist between these global companies and Israel are not just about profits. They are, in many ways, enabling the oppression of Palestinians. But people in the West are unaware of how their consumer habits are funding the war in Gaza. With every purchase from these brands, a small part of the profits ends up supporting a military complex that indirectly contributes to the destruction of lives in Palestine. Why isn't social media revolution enough? While social media has become the loudspeaker of global activism, hashtags and tweets can't stop bombs from falling. Palestinians have been forced to resist for decades, and their voices have been amplified by social media. But why hasn't it resulted in real-world action? Millions of people across the globe are raising their voices online. Hashtag Free Palestine, hashtag Save Gaza, hashtag Stand With Palestine. But why aren't these digital cries translating into real action? Why are we still asking, why hasn't the world helped Palestine? Governments continue to say they are working for peace, yet the situation worsens every day. Countries publicly condemn the violence, but are silent when it comes to real consequences for the oppressors. Global politics and economic interests are silencing the very voices that need to be heard. Why did Google Map remove Palestine? Another strange but troubling issue has been the erasure of Palestine from global maps. When you search for Palestine on Google Maps, you won't find it listed as a separate state. Why? This is part of a larger political strategy. Many countries and organizations, including Google, choose to recognize Israel but ignore Palestine's right to exist as a sovereign state. By removing Palestine from the map, they erase the very identity of the Palestinian people, making them invisible to the world. This erasure goes beyond geography. It's a psychological tactic. If you can erase a place from maps, you can erase its people's struggle. This is an attack on history, culture, and identity. Palestine isn't just a political issue, it's a human issue. The children of Palestine will grow up with scars, both physical and emotional. Every bomb that falls, every house that is destroyed, isn't just a loss of property, it's a loss of history, culture, and identity. Imagine waking up to find your home in rubble, your family torn apart, and your future uncertain. Imagine knowing that the world could change things but chooses not to. This is the reality for Palestinians every day. Yet, despite the destruction, the people of Palestine continue to resist. They continue to fight for their rights, for their land, for their freedom. The world must ask itself, what does it mean to be free if we are all complicit in denying others their freedom? So, what can we do? What needs to change? Global accountability. Countries must hold Israel accountable for its actions. Governments must apply pressure through sanctions and diplomatic means to ensure that human rights are respected in Gaza. Support Palestine's voice. The world needs to listen to Palestinians. Their voices have been silenced for too long. We must demand equal recognition and support their right to self. Boycott Israeli products. Start by boycotting brands that directly fund the Israeli military. Support businesses and products that stand for justice, peace, and human rights. Raise awareness beyond social media. Social media is important, but it's real-world actions that bring about change. Use your voice to lobby governments, write to representatives, and demand international intervention. Educate the world. The truth about what is happening in Palestine must be widely known. It's time for us all to recognize the complicity in global silence. The world cannot remain silent any longer. Palestine is not a political issue. It's a human issue. If we remain silent, we become complicit in the suffering of millions. The question is no longer why isn't the world helping? The real question is, why aren't we demanding change? Palestinians deserve to be heard. They deserve to be free. And it's time for us to stand up, speak out, and demand justice. What do you think? Why are the world's most powerful countries staying silent on Palestine? What can we do to change the situation? Is social media activism enough, or do we need real-world action? Let us know your thoughts and share this video to help raise awareness. The world cannot afford to stay silent any longer. Palestine needs us all. Subscribe to the Tail Rail for more emotional, deep, and thought-provoking stories that challenge the world we live in.